Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to a very special last 2018 edition of Bolts Breakdown. Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Jay Recher, 95.3 WDAE. Don't mind these old logos. I know they look backwards on your screen there, but they took all of our lights in the podcast room for Jingle Ball a couple weeks ago, and they didn't put them back, so we figured we'd give you guys some better lighting. I know lighting is always an issue with us. Hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas, Hanukkah, holidays before everybody celebrates their New Year. Tonight should be an interesting. Did you have a good time? I know you went to the Mrs. Upstate New York and stuff like that. How was that?
Yeah, we did Montreal for a couple of days and then went to Adams, New York. So an hour north of Syracuse, about 45 minutes south of the Canadian border. So it was cold, not as cold as it could have been. Got a little bit of snow. We had a white Christmas. Nice. Which is a big thing up there. Everybody says, are we going to have a white Christmas? Yeah. Is it going to be a white Christmas? I heard white Christmas more than I think I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, it was a lot of good time. I got to cover some of the games on the road, but not with the team. Okay. I was on the road in Montreal, on the road in New York. Team played pretty well and got some much-needed rest. I'm sure you did too. Without
a doubt, yeah. I spent a lot of time with my family in New York, even caught a game, which was kind of great. I went to Madison Square Garden to watch Rangers Flyers a couple nights before Christmas, so that was a lot of fun there. And it kind of gave me a glimpse ahead of what the Lightning were going to face a couple days after Christmas with the Flyers. So I got an idea of what they brought to the table. But, you know, we'll get into that in a second. As always, we want to hear from you here on Bolts Breakdown. Where are you watching us from? Put it there at the bottom of the screen. Also share this on your Facebook and let us know. We'll shout you out. That's what we do here on Bolts Breakdown. But, yeah, that Flyers game, you know, you look at the two teams, Burnsy, and you look at the Lightning, the best team in the NHL, and you look at Philadelphia just battling and struggling and just trying to get back in the groove somehow. You got to throw the records out the window, it seems like, when these two teams play, because now for the second consecutive time, the Lightning play the Flyers. They jump up and get a big lead on them, and Philadelphia fights their way back and ends up tying the game, but the Lightning prevail in overtime again. What is it about the Flyers that seems to just give I don't want to say give the Lightning trouble, but gives them a good game, it seems like?
Oh, no. I mean, when I was watching that game, it's like the Lightning had complete control of that game. They had complete control of the game up in Philadelphia when they were up 5-1 in the third period, and then Philly scored like 4 goals in the last 8 minutes to get back in that one. But you're watching it, you're almost like, maybe these guys are winning so much, they just need to find different challenges, different things to keep them engaged in a game, because they just you could tell the focus wasn't there in the third period. And I think the big one was Philly scored in the first 90 seconds of that third period, and if it had taken them a little bit longer to get that goal, I think maybe that would have been a different outcome. It probably wouldn't have gotten to overtime. But I think when they scored early in that third period, it gave them a little bit of life. It kind of gave everybody a bit of uneasiness in the arena. This could be tougher than we thought going into the third period. So kudos to Philly for coming back, for fighting hard. Kudos to the Lightning for once they withstood that push, once things got even. I thought they played pretty good hockey after that. They did a really good job of stemming that momentum and seeing that thing all the way through overtime. And then it's interesting, up in Philly, it was I think it was Alex Killorn to Anthony Cirelli that potted the overtime game winner. And then here in Tampa Bay, it was Cirelli to Killorn. So it had the same guys out on the ice 18 seconds into overtime, and it was another victory for the Lightning.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how it all unfolds that way, with Cirelli in overtime just having his fingerprints all over the game and all over the win. And watching the Flyers play against the Rangers, I thought to myself, I'm like, man, the speed difference between those two teams and the Lightning, I thought the Lightning were going to run them out of the building. But yeah, they slow the game down a little bit, the Flyers do, and they really get that net front presence that you hear a lot. And to me, Burnsy, I mean, that's one thing I think if you look at the Lightning and if they have any holes on the defense, I think that could be an issue maybe a little bit, and that's part of the reason why we've seen Eric Chernak stay up with this team and be a factor, because at times you see those goals, it's guys battling in front of the net and screening Vasilevsky. I think Vasi could do a better job as well, kind of pushing guys away. I think at times he relies a little bit too much on his height to look over guys and look around guys. It's such a great job with that. But I think every once in a while, hockey's a tough sport. He's got to jab a guy or something to get him out of their way, help his defense out a little bit, because you see some of those goals, I think they could have done a better job of clearing those guys out in front of the net. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be even tested more with JT Miller out here
Yeah.
for a little bit. He's week to week with, I believe it's an upper body injury. He's one of those guys that does kind of provide that grittiness and can clear some of those guys out in front of the net. So you're losing one of those guys. And like you said, yeah, Vazzy, that's just not really his game. He's never really been like a physical type of goaltender, and like you say, uses his height. He uses that athleticism too.
Yeah,
like he's so flexible, it can bend in so many different ways that he would rather like. I remember the Kopitar save that he made, the behind the back. Look before that, he's like looking down like through guys' legs to see where he is. And then he's able to make the behind the back. But that's kind of his style. I don't think it's in his thought process to, be physical and jab guys away. I think his idea or his mentality is I'm going to look around and find creases or find sight lines where I can still see the puck.
Good stuff. As always, let us know where you're watching Bolts Breakdown from. We will definitely shout you out. Karen Dupree, Millington, Tennessee. Love the Bolts. Actually went there a couple summers ago.
Millington, Tennessee?
Where is
that?
I don't know. Help us out. Let us know where it is. But I went there for a baseball tournament a couple of years ago. Mike Mim, I seem to remember us always having a real high-scoring games with Philly lately. That is right.
Yeah, I mean, was it last year when it was like 7-6?
Yeah.
That overtime game.
And
then
that
was just a back and forth.
Back, up and down. It's
Both
crazy.
games this year, 6-5 in overtime.
Danielle Casso, Spring Hill, saying hello. So make sure you guys let us know. Tony, thank you very much from Lakeland. Matthew Joseph, they're talking about his return to the lineup. One of those kids, and it's funny because I actually, with my brother, he watches a lot of like Nat World Junior Championships because now with it being underway, we watched some from years past, and we saw Matthew Joseph and his efforts there, and it's crazy to see how many members of the Lightning were on there.
Braden Point was a big junior
Tony
championship
Sorelli
guy,
as well, so it's really cool. Dana, hey buddy, from St. Pete, a little bit north of Memphis. Karen says that's why I went there for tournament, so you gotta love that. Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. Follow the team at TB Lightning. Jay Recher here. Follow me at Jay Recher. Follow the station 95.3 WDAE. I know a lot of Bucks talk here on Facebook Live 95.3 WDAE, and also on the airwaves today. And it's Black Monday, so a lot of coaches being fired. But we're talking some Lightning hockey ahead of their game tonight against the Ducks in Anaheim. As always, we want to hear from you. Where are you watching Bolts Breakdown from? Put it there on the screen and let us know when you share it. Share this thing on your Facebook. We're always kind of spread the love here to let everybody know how much we love the Lightning and to be the Thunder. Let's look forward to tonight's game. Burnsy playing a tough Anaheim Ducks team. This team is battling all year long. Playing, without their guy, Corey Perry, one of the top goal scorers, one of the grinders in this league, doing it all season without him. You got to respect for them, how well they've been playing this season, just staying in the hunt. What are your three keys to victory tonight for the Bolts?
Yeah, usually these are tough games, pretty physical games, low-scoring games. Anaheim's one of the only 6 teams in the NHL that's beaten the Lightning in regulation. I think it was like 3-1. They beat them in Tampa about a month ago. For me, you look back to the Montreal game. I felt the Lightning were trying to be like a little bit too fancy with the puck. A lot of the passes, they were going for that kind of hero 2-line pass up ahead just to try to spring someone open. For me, like, play a simpler game. Make some of those simpler passes. They turned the puck over way too many times in that Montreal game, and that really fueled Montreal. And I thought that was a good Canadiens team. I thought they played pretty well in that game. I thought they had active sticks and really disrupted a lot of what the Lightning were trying to do, and then were able to break out the other way and turn and get something good in transition.
Hold on. I just realized something. The last game wasn't against the Flyers. It was against the Canadiens.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to bring up the Montreal game. I thought since we hadn't done one for Montreal, you were just going to recap the whole...
The thing is I got back Saturday night. What is it? Is it Monday or Sunday?
It's Monday.
Thanks, Brian. I'm still on vacation, okay? I was in New York. I was sick for a couple days. My stomach was killing me. I got back at 6:30. I wasn't going to be able to make it for the game. So the Montreal game, even though I watched it, really didn't pay too much mind. But that's a good point.
You
Sorry.
missed a good one, man.
It was a good one.
Was like the energy inside the building for that game was really good. And there's usually a lot of Montreal fans when those two teams hook up, but not quite as many Montreal fans. But they had these like the cardboard kind of Go Bolt signs that they gave everybody, and those were making a lot of noise. But just the energy in the crowd, it felt like a really good game from a fan's perspective. And then at the end, when Ernie scored that goal with about a minute 2 left, The final, once the fans realized the Lightning were going to win that game, Montreal pulled the goalie, but they weren't, there's still 10 seconds.
Yeah,
they weren't close to scoring. Like, that roar from the crowd was like one of the loudest I've heard in a long time, and I think it was just kind of like an appreciation for this team finding another way to pull a game out on this 14-game point streak that they're on. So it was really good stuff to see.
How good was Adam Ernie the other night?
Yeah.
I mean, sitting there watching at home, I wasn't feeling great, but watching him made me feel better because, my gosh, the effort that he was putting in. He got rewarded as well with more ice time on that third line. I saw with Anthony Cirelli and Yanni Gourde. So that was really good to see him play well. He's a guy, to me, that plays very similar to a guy like JT Miller. So if you're looking for some of that grit and some of that grind, some of that sandpaper with JT Miller being out, I think Adam Ernie, this is the opportunity that he's kind of been waiting patiently for. He's played well when he's been in there. And I think now's the time, Burnsy, for him to step it up.
Yeah, I like Bernie, too.
Bernie?
Works, yeah.
Bernie Burnsy.
The Weekend of Bernie's?
Weekend of Burnsies.
That first goal that Ernie scored, that might have been his best shift that he's had in the NHL. I mean, he takes the puck behind the net. He just goes back and forth, just trying to hold off a defender, trying to keep possession of the puck and just wait until someone could get open in front of the net. It never materialized. I think he held it for about 20, 30 seconds back there, then got it out to the point, swung over to Strawman. Strawman shoots one, and who's in front of the net to pick up the rebound? But Adam Ernie fighting off his defender to backhand one into the back of the net. That tied the game. And then I thought it was very telling. You saw earlier in that period, they'd switched up the lines a little bit. They put Ernie with Anthony Cirelli, Yanni Gourde. I thought those were the Lightning's three best players in that game because those were the three that weren't turning the puck over. Yanni Gourde was relentless all night, just hunting the puck down, going just all over the place. That Yanni Gourde that we're so used to seeing, just whoever has the puck, he makes a beeline for him and is going to be in his face. And I thought those three were tremendous, and I thought it was very telling. The final shift where Ernie scored that game-winning goal, there was a little bit of time. There was a chance for Cooper to decide who he wants out there on the ice. He had Ernie, Cirelli, and Yanni Gourde out there because he felt those are the three guys that are going to do something for us. Sure enough, they produced the game-winning goal. So really good to see those three combine and the hard work that they put in. And that effort paying off.
I was thinking the same thing as looking at there, and I'm thinking the game's in the balance.
Yeah, it was an odd pairing.
Who's out there?
That combination.
And it wasn't Stamkos.
Yeah, no
it wasn't
Kucherov, no Pointer.
It wasn't Point. It wasn't Johnson. It was pretty crazy, man. It speaks to the volume of talent they have on this team and their depth, and it's just really what sets the Lightning apart from everybody else. All right, back to the three keys for tonight's
point
game.
One. Now we got point number 2, commitment to defense. That's what my second point is. There's, we talked to Julian Breezeball on Saturday before the Montreal game. He kind of had like a state of the team kind of pre-mid-season. It's almost mid-season. We can call it mid-season now. Whenever you flip the calendar, you can call that mid-season. And it was like 7 minutes. He started off the whole thing by saying there's a lot of positives. And then it was literally 7 minutes. I'm transcribing 7 minutes of nothing, just him going through all the positives of this team and everything good that's going on. And the negatives was, 30 seconds long. It was like I have a Microsoft Word document. It was 2 full pages of positives. That he just uninterrupted stream of consciousness talking, and then his negatives was an 11-line paragraph. So, but that one negative was we're allowing too many goals. We got to lock that down. Right now, I think they're at about 2.96 goals per game. He wants that number down around 2.1, 2.2. Yeah. They're 15th in the league right now for goals against. They want to be in the top 10. If this is truly a championship caliber team, they're going to need to limit some of those goals against. And even on this run that they've been on, they gave up 5 to Montreal. They gave up, or was it 5 or 4? I can't remember. They gave up a lot of goals to Montreal. They gave up 5 to Philly. They've been giving up a lot of goals even though they've been winning these games. They need to limit the amount of goals that they're giving up. So that's a commitment to defense. And it's not just from, it's not the goaltenders. It's not just the defensemen. It's everybody. It's the forwards got to come back and support. The defensemen have to read well. They can't jump into the rush if it's not there. It's a commitment from everybody on the team to playing good, sound team defense and keeping the puck out of the back of their net. And, it's the start of a new year. Maybe that's the New Year's resolution this year. Let's limit some of those goals against. And then the third point for me is keep having fun. I mean, these guys, they really enjoy going to the rink right now. They really enjoy being with one another in the locker room. I think they enjoy finding new ways to win hockey games each time they're out there. Each game presents a little bit of a different challenge. they like that challenge, and they like to figure out how are we going to unlock this team so that we can come out of here with another win. So, don't let that enthusiasm wane. Like, let's keep that going into the new year.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a guy like Dan Girardi is so important to this team.
Absolutely. Did you watch the mic'd up that he had?
It's incredible,
Yeah.
man. You got to go check that out.
TampaBayLightning.com. Check that out.
Go check it out. That is hilarious. And, it's the season's long, man. It's a long, rigorous season. There's a lot of traveling. You spend a lot of time with these guys, more time with these guys than you do your own families. And when you look at a guy like Dan Girardi, not only is he a solid defenseman, I know he's not the most fleetest of foot, and he's never going to be never going to have a Shea Weber slap shot or skate like Erik Karlsson. But he's been through the wars. He's been through these long seasons and long playoff runs, and the attitude that he brings, and it's so contagious. You see other guys in the locker room smiling because of things that Dan Girardi does, and then that kind of thing, it just adds on. And, McDonough's like the quieter approach.
Absolutely,
he's like, I've been around this guy forever. I've seen this. But
it's funny, those two they're pretty inseparable. Like,
they are.
The team
but they're so opposite too.
It's like the odd couple.
It's crazy. So, I like Dan Girardi. I think he's a key member of this team. And I think that the Julien BriseBois done a great job, and Steve Yzerman and everybody with all the scouting, but also with the decision with Chernak. I know we haven't gotten a chance to talk about that, but a lot of people, and we talked about it, maybe you send him down. You don't want him to sit, but now with the rotation of getting him in there and sitting some other guys, I mean, it's worked out pretty good, and I think it makes a lot of sense for a guy like Erik Chernak because he's played so well, and how do you take that guy out of the lineup? And even though those three veteran guys, when we're talking about Girardi, Coburn, and Stralman, are unrestricted at the end of the year, I think this just goes with the same old thing that if you're one of the best players on the team, you're going to make the team and you're going to play. We've seen that with Mikhail Sergachev. We've seen that with Yanni Gordon, Braden Point. And that same rationale, that same kind of line of thinking is going with what they're doing with Erik Chernak right now. I think it's a great move for the Bolts.
Yeah, I think Erik Chernak has worked his way into a top 4 role on this team. I think the pairings that we saw in the last game against Montreal was Hedman and Stralman, which we all know what that pairing has done going back to the Stanley Cup year. McDonough and Chernak, and that was something that BriseBois talked about in his talk was, Chernak, they can send him the waiver, or he doesn't have to go through waivers. They can send him down to Syracuse anytime, but he makes the team better, and that's why he's here, and that's why he's going to stay for the foreseeable future. And he likes that combination, that pairing with McDonough and Chernak. Those guys have developed a pretty good chemistry. I think those are your top 4. And that was BriseBois talked about. They haven't figured out the defensive pairings yet, and that's how this rotation allows them maybe to see some different guys partnered with one another and see if there's maybe some chemistry that they haven't quite found yet with some guys. But they don't really, the coaching staff, the management, they don't really know what their best defensive pairings, the pairings that are gonna, when playoff time comes, when it's crunch time, these are the guys that you're gonna go with. But for me, I think the pairings that we saw against Montreal are the best pairings, or the pairings that at the end of the year we're going to see. Hedman, Stralman, McDonough, Chernak, and then that third pair is going to be Sergachev and either Coburn or Girardi. A combination of those three. I don't know that they've locked down exactly who that's going to be. Dan Girardi might be the odd man out because Coburn and Sergachev have had pretty good chemistry here as that third pair for a while.
What about 7 defensemen? I know they've liked to do that in the past.
But then who do you take out at forward? They've got so much depth at forward too that it's like, who are you going to take out there? It's just it's kind of an embarrassment of riches right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think they've only gone 11-7 once this year. I mean, that was something that Cooper's used quite often throughout his career. Even I think that Stanley Cup year, he probably went 11-7 more than he did 12-6.
Yeah, I agree.
But he hasn't really had to do it this year. They like what they've got with the 12-6. They like what they got with the forward group, and I don't know that we're going to see 11-7 this year.
That's definitely something to keep an eye on as they start their road trip tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. My one guy to watch, Andre Kase. Looks like Case, K-A-S-E. He had a hat trick, I think it was 2 weeks ago. This is one of those guys really stepping up. Rickard Rakell did that about last year. You need some of those young guys to step in and kind of supplement some of the offense that Corey Perry usually provides. But you know what you're getting from Ryan Getzlaf. You know you're getting a big physical game. And this is a big test for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And regardless of where they are in the standings, and I know the games that they have against Toronto and some of the other powers in the East, but for me, one thing we mentioned before the Ducks game last month where they lost, last year they had an issue and they lost to the Ducks at home. Just that style of play, I just think it's not a great matchup for the Lightning.
They really clog up that neutral
zone. They really
do.
They
don't let the Lightning get their speed game going.
They slow that game down. It's the guys are slogging through the neutral zone, and I think again this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be all down to the forecheck. You got to get below the goal line there. You got to really grind. You got to use the body tonight. I'm looking for guys like Yanni Gourde and Adam Ernie, and it's that same line again to really be the benefactors, because in games like this, Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov, when a lot of times they're skating fast through that neutral zone, they have a big head of steam. They don't always get that in games like this.
Yeah, they kind of get neutralized.
Yeah, so I'm looking at those third-line guys, fourth-line guys to be able to step up and make their presence felt, because, in essence, what we've been talking about, their depth is what sets them apart. And I think you really have to find the weaknesses of the Anaheim Ducks and to be able to exploit those instead of worrying about, all right, the neutral zone is clogged up. How are we going to, how's it affecting our game? They have to push the pace and be relentless and kind of put the emphasis on the Ducks to make the adjustment instead of the other way around. But you look at this team this year, Burnsy, I think the Bolts look at the game tonight, and they're not resting on their laurels. They look at it as a challenge, and I think they're excited for it.
Yeah, you look at this Anaheim team, these games are always tight with Anaheim. And an interesting stat when I was looking stuff up was the Lightning are 4-0-4 in their last 8 games in Anaheim.
Oh, okay.
7 of those 8 games have been decided by 1 goal. So these are tight games. It's probably going to be another tight one today. So there was someone had an interesting point up here earlier. Dana Andrus, Cuckoo can be sent down without waivers. Yeah, that's why you're seeing Cuckoo on the conditioning assignment right now, is if he goes down to Syracuse, he has to clear waivers, and the Lightning don't think that he's going to clear waivers. There's a team out there that could really use a Slater Cuckoo, and that's kind of why he's in this situation that he's in right now where he hasn't been playing, because he's a left side D. No one on the left side's really been injured this year other than Victor Hedman, and during those 7 games, that's when Slater Cuckoo was able to make an appearance. But other than that, it's all been right D. And it's pretty hard to break into that left D lineup when you're looking at Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, and Mikhail Sergachev in front of you.
Yeah, good luck.
So that's why you're seeing Slater Cuckoo up in the press box most nights as a healthy scratch. They're doing this conditioning assignment for him. Breezeball explained he's allowed to do this once during the season. It's going to be for 14 days. He's an opportunity to play 6 games with the Syracuse Crunch. So good for him to get back into some action, to put some of that stuff that he's been working on in practice, after morning skates, to put that to use. And Breezeball said, Slater Cuckoo has done everything right. Like, he's going above and beyond what he's needed to do. He's not pouting. He's not worried about his situation. I'm sure he's worried about his situation, but he's not expressing that to the team. He's not a negative person. He's coming in with positivity. He's coming in and working hard. He's working after practice. Breezeball said he's done everything that he's asked of Slater Cuckoo. He just can't get him in the game right now because of the situation and where the Lightning are right now. It's just not feasible. So this will give him a chance to go down and get some games. And then, if someone gets hurt, we've seen some guys go down here recently. If someone gets hurt, then Cuckoo will be ready to step in. And Breezeball said when he was in for Victor Hedman, those were his best games that he's played in the Tampa Bay Lightning since he's been in this organization. So it's through no fault of his own that he's not playing right now.
Like you said before, an embarrassment of riches. So that was one thing on my Lightning Power Play show. I said one of the things I'd give the Lightning for Christmas is a guy like Slater Cuckoo a place to play every day, because he deserves it. I mean, he's been a good soldier. He's frustrated. It's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? You want to play. I mean, you don't want to just be on a team. You want to play. After he scored a goal, I think it was a couple weeks ago, he goes, this is to prove all the doubters wrong. So he's got that chip on his shoulder. I'm sure, he thinks he should play, but he also understands that he's on a really good team. I mean, this is the NHL leaders right now. So it's tough. It's not that he can't look at the guys on the left side, like you mentioned, and think, he's getting shafted in a way. I mean,
you're like, why is Ryan McDonough playing again? Come on.
Why is Victor Hedman in the lineup, man? I'm way better than that guy. What are you going to do?
Someone asked earlier about when they thought, or we think Domingue might get a start. I think like the LA game. I think that's tailor-made for Domingue to come in. I think Vazzy goes tonight against Anaheim. They have a day off tomorrow. Then they practice in LA the next day. And then I think Domingue will go against LA. They're at the bottom. Last time I looked, they were at the bottom of the NHL standings.
Crazy.
And then the San Jose game, I mean, that's a pretty good team. I think you can want Vazzy to go up against them. So I see Domingue against LA. And then there's the following week when they go on the road, I think it's a Buffalo, New York Islanders, back-to-back on the road. I'll actually be on that trip.
Uh-oh.
I think probably against the Islanders in the second half of that back-to-back, you'll see Domingue again.
Nice. Brian Burns, beat writer for Tampa Bay Lightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. You can follow the team at TV Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com for the best news and notes. Follow me at Recher. Follow the station at 95.3 WDAE. Go to 95.3 WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. I believe 9 o'clock puck drop tonight, Eastern Standard Time. 8?
I think it's 8.
It's 8. All right. So if it's 8, if it's 8, the pregame will be a half an hour before. Up the dial on our sister station, 970 WFLA, and then on Fox Sports Sun. That's our final Bolts breakdown for 2018.
Take your coat.
Take your coat up north. He knows.
Of course. I just did this.
Come on, he just did that. He was up in upstate New
Dana
York.
says 8.
Dana, thanks, Dana. So, yeah, 8 o'clock puck drop tonight. Pregame starts 7:30 up the dial on our sister station, 970 WFLA, and also on Fox Sports Sun. All right, man. We'll be back, in a couple days? 2019.
Yeah.
Thursday?
January, it'll be Thursday.
Thursday?
This is Monday. I was thinking coming across the bridge, I'm like, what day is it? Is today the 1st yet? Is it the 31st? It's just
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. It'll be
We're all
good when we
mixed
get back into the groove again. But that's Brian. I'm Jay. We'll see you next time right here on Bolts Breakdown. Happy New Year!